Hello, my name is Bayo. I'm currently one of the top soul fighters in EU, and I'm here to explain today what skills to use as a soul fighter in PvP and why to use them. So we'll start off with Ice Build, which is the most used skill or used element in PvP. And I'll just go through all the skills here and explain why you should pick what and what to avoid and what's kind of like a personal preference and so on. So, starting off with straight jab, this is probably the most useless skill a soldier has. Doesn't really matter which one you pick, to be honest. You don't really need Hongmu skill or anything for it. I would say just pick the basics one, because if you actually have to use it, like if you're, let's say, out of chi because of your R&B and you need some chi back, you might as well use that one because it lowers your tab cooldown. But it's not that important. It's actually very useless. As for elbow smash, move 1, as you can see, it freezes over 5 seconds, which is pretty useless because it only freezes if you face them, and it's very hard due to desync and other things to actually freeze them with it. So, but the strong thing about this counter is the focus damage, and I would recommend not using this in any matchup right now. It used to be very good versus Destroyer. It kinda still is, but it's not that good because the only thing it actually does is focus damage, and you lose an iframe for it or a stun for it, and it's not that good. Move 2. This is the most aggressive of the three, because when someone hits into your counter, you can see the stuns for 2 seconds, and you reduce the cooldown of your backstep by 3 seconds. Also, the most important thing is that it removes block approach skill effect when you counter, which is very important versus classes like Force Mastery. So, why this is very good is because it's a free stun pretty much. If they hit into your counter, you get a free stun and you can start comboing, or you force your tab very safely. But the negative thing is you lose an iframe, like I said before, with the move 1, and also it has a weird desync problem, and also how do I explain this? The animation lock on it is very big, so if they insta tab, if they're ready for it, if they hit into it on purpose and tab it, then they get a free daze on you, which is very dangerous. So I would recommend using move 3 in almost every matchup, except versus Kung Fu Master and versus Force Master, because in those matchups this one is pretty safe to use, and also because, like I mentioned before, it removes chills and block approaches, which is very strong versus Force Master, so you need this versus Force Master, and it's very good versus KFM. Now move 3. Why this is so good is because of the 1.5 second iframe you get from every counter, which is very good versus classes like Summoner, Warlock, BM because of the Penta Slash, BD because of the Penta Slash, BD because of if a BD tries to knock you down and you counter it and they try to knock you down again, you already have an iframe, so they can't do that. It's just very strong. You want to use this in almost every matchup. Now, Lightning Fist is pretty self-evident. I mean, you just use the stun one. It's kind of obvious. You never use this. It's useless. It also gives movement speed, which is very important because you can stun with it and run away instantly, and then you can force your tab, and you can run away from tab range. Howling Blast. Now, I would recommend using Knockdown in almost every matchup because it's a 2-second knockdown, it has a low cooldown, 18 seconds, and it blocks up defensive skills, which is very good if you're gonna combo it with leg sweep, because then they can't use ground counter. So if you use Howling Blast, they roll it, and you tech chase with leg sweep, they are blocked for 4 seconds and they can't use ground counter. So you basically the leg sweep is basically like a daze stun, which is really strong. This one is very slow, has a very long cooldown, and it's it's good for mind games, because if someone doesn't expect it, which most people don't, because almost no one uses this, it can be very strong because it's still a daze. It still blocks defensive skills for 6 seconds, and versus classes like Assassin, which only has a Q to dodge, to spam, I mean, if they're far away, or a Warlock which has no iframes to spam, you can use this pretty effectively. I would recommend using this almost always versus Warlock, because, like I said, they have no real iframe they can spam. Now, Ground Ripple, start with the stun. The stun is probably the best one of the three in most matchups because it's a 5 meter radius stun with the pierces defense, and if you freeze with it, aka if you combo like this, and then wait for the freeze and then stun, it's basically like a 5-second combo, which is really, really, really strong. I didn't expect it, but whatever. You get my point. It's very, very important to use this in almost every matchup because of the stun. You can't. It's very, very hard to combo with knockdown, for example, because you can't aerial off a knockdown. You can't do anything off a knockdown except it knocks them down. So, and also it also has almost the same cooldown anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now you have less catch options if you use the stun versus knockdown. Let's say versus spin classes, because you can stun a spin, of course. But you can do is, for example, this. Let's say this VD spinning over there. You can just press 2 anyway, like pretend you're not stunned here, and then leg sweep, and then insta stun right there. So, I mean, it's just way stronger in my opinion to use this versus spin classes anyway, because you have more options using this. Even though it might not seem like it might seem like, oh, you should use knockdown versus spin classes. I don't think so, because it's actually just way, way slower, pretty much. The knockback, this is a high radius, as you can see, 8 meters or 5 meter, lower cooldown, way lower cooldown, and it blocks defensive skills, which is very, very important versus Assassin and Blade Master and Warlock to some extent. Now, why it's important is because it removes ground counters. It doesn't just remove blocks, it just removes ground counters, which is very important for comboing. So, and also the 8 meter range is very important versus Assassin, because obviously you can catch them out of self very, very easy then. So, for example, if they, wait a second. Let's say you catch Assassin, right? You did this, and then you stun, then you did this, and then you aerial, and then you insta knock down like this, and then as you can see, they're still guard blocking for a few seconds, and you can continue combo for 2 seconds like that, and then you can change stance, do it again, etc. It's just very, very strong versus a lot of classes because of the block defensive skill and also because of the radius. I would recommend using this versus Warlock, versus Assassin, and sometimes versus BM. Both of these are legit versus BM. It's personal preference, I'd say, which one you'd use. Now, heal, you always use this. This one is useless in PvP. Always use move 2. Now, right punch. So both of these right punches are very, very different in that they... Okay, so this one is 4 meter range, which is insane for PvP because all tabs are 3 meter range. So you can stand over here and he has to tab into nothing pretty much, which is really, really strong. But the negative side effect is that it has 2 focus cost instead of 1. You can negate that by, for example, doing this and then 2 hits and then breeze kick and then 2 more hits. That's 5 hits still. 5 hits, which is the max hits you can hit with in a 2-second CC, which I'll go over in another video. How many hits you can hit in such a basic skill guide or basic combo guide. Yeah. So this skill is basically double damage of this skill, which is really, really strong, but it costs 2 more G. The reason you want to use this in some matchups, like versus Warlock, I say only versus Warlock, and some maybe Destroyer because they remove chi a lot with their grab, is because it has no target. You don't have to have target to use it, right? And since Warlocks use the untargetable Sanctum, you can still attack them if you do this. While if you play the other one, you can't do anything during Sanctum, and you'll probably get CC'd and die, or at least take a lot of your HP. Or at least remove a lot of HP. Now, Snowball move 1 versus move 2. I'd say this is very much personal preference. This one is mandatory versus Destroyer, but other than that matchup, I'd say it's pretty much personal preference. This one is bursty. It does pretty much double damage in Burning Tundra. Like if you do a combo like this, it does insane damage. While this one does more aerial damage and also chills, so it has more utility. So, let's say you're against a Warlock, for example, and there's 2 different ways to play as a Warlock. You can play the PvE way, which which is what I call it, which is the way where you try to combo them as much as possible without using CC. So then you use this one to chill them, to freeze them over and over again, and then stand behind them, attack them as much as possible. That's very strong versus Warlock that doesn't hug the wall, because of course you can't get behind them if they're at the wall. While this one is more bursty, of course, so if you try to one combo classes like Warlock or like BM, BD, etc., then this one is very, very strong if you play like a one combo sort of playstyle instead of like a aerial and run kind of playstyle. And I use this. Always use airborne, obvious. Froststorm, always use move 2. The one thing you should be careful about when it comes to Froststorm is the KD bug. I hope I can showcase this. I hope it works. But sometimes when you use Froststorm at the same time as any KD, as leg sweep, or if you have ground ripple on KD, or your Howling Blast, they can bug out. So I hope I can show this. No, okay, well, maybe I can try it again. I'll try it once more, see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll just move on. No, okay. Well, sometimes the KD doesn't work during Froststorm for some reason, and also if you play Earth during Whirlwind. It's a very common bug, even though I can showcase it here. It's very, very common it happens, so just be careful with that you either KD before or after Froststorm, because otherwise it might bug out and you're gonna just drop your combo. I hope it gets fixed soon, so this won't actually be a problem, but for now, just be wary of that. Now, self-defense G, I'd always say use this move. You can try this move versus some classes. Like KFM, it could be pretty cool to use, because KFM is mostly target. But move 1 is, like, the fact that it resets elbow smash, the fact that it's an iframe, you can proc Howling Blast with it. It's just very, very strong, and this one doesn't give much except they can't target you. And a lot of classes nowadays have AoEs anyway to CC you through it, so. The Daze versus KD versus basic skill. So most people think this is actually pretty useless in PvP. It actually isn't. It's very useful versus Destroyer if you want to use it. It's not mandatory versus Destroyer, but if you feel like it's a Destroyer that deflects you a lot, or if it's a Destroyer that is very good at dodging your snowballs for the chill, you can use this because it's instant chill and it goes through parry. So it's strong versus Destroyer, but it's not really strong versus anything else. Some people like using the knockdown versus BD and Destroyer. I personally dislike this skill a lot because of the cooldown increase, and also because you have very limited aggressive combos with it. I would recommend using Daze in most cases, especially as starting out. When you start out with playing Soulfighter, I would recommend using Daze all the time, and then you can branch out and try different things after. Okay, now that Ice is done, I'll talk a little bit about Earth. There's not much to talk about. It's basically all the same things here, and then the only difference is being these two and this. So you always want to use move 2 here, you always want to use move 2 here, and you always want to use move 2 here. Being that, like here for example, it's 100% crit on CC, and also increased damage on CC, which is just insane. There's no reason to ever use this in PvP. It's just this just does more damage and crits all the time, so it's just better. This one goes for defense, which is the most important part about it. It goes through defense and parry, so you can just spam it, and also the chi cost is half 1 versus 2, which is really, really good. Now, no, I actually took the wrong King Fist. It's move 1 King Fist you want to use, because it's a triple hit King Fist that does basically more damage even if none of them crit versus this one, and also it has an insane critical multiplier. So if you crit with just one of the King Fists, it's a lot of damage. Also, it still has 4 meter range, so you can just still stay out of tab range with it. This one is really good in only 66, I'd say. Always use this one in 1v1 and 3v3 if you're gonna play Earth. Earth is really good versus Assassin because of the laser, and it can be good versus Summoner and Force Master, but I would recommend starting out with Ice, because Ice is just easier to play, easier to understand. And then if you want to like try to play around with Earth, I'd say go for it, but it's harder to play, and I don't think it's better versus anything except Assassin. But someone could prove me wrong with that. So that's all the skills I can think of right now. that should conclude the video. If there's any questions, you can leave them in the comments. Thank you.